no great team, but our first string quarterback even looked pretty good. But I had a good weekend. Old Root Hall called me. They got the Billy Napier of high school football up there in Gilbert, America. They want to fire the coach in the first year. But Root Hall, give him time. He might win you some championships down the road. But the Regenerative team, motocross team, doing good. I'm sitting back here enjoying it, taking one day at a time. And want to say I love all y'all. And, oh, yeah, we lost Mr. Moses this weekend. I hated to hear that. But he was a good guy. I'm a great guy. But that's about all I got to say. But I'm telling you, I watched a little bit of that Ole Miss game last night, and guess what I see? I've seen Juice Wales catch a touchdown pass. I think before 30 seconds in the game was going by. Come on down, Juice. We're waiting on you. We're going to take it to you. I love all y'all. Have a great day. Go Gamecocks. Love all y'all.
There you go. Yeah, 2 weeks. We got 2 weeks to squeeze the juice and get ready for him, if you will.
Just to be clear, Gamecock Larry predicted 57-17, so he wasn't very far off.
It's not bad.
I think that's a 57.
It's not bad.
It's either 57 or 51. Can't read my writing.
We'll give him 51. We'll just go ahead and say that he was a point off from the Gamecocks. If you want to weigh in this morning, anything you saw from the weekend, 803-404-6100. Chris hits this up. Stakes are now set. If the Mets take 2 of 3 in Atlanta this week, they'll clinch a playoff berth. It's that simple. 2 games back are the Braves.
Wait a second. How did he phrase that?
He said if the Mets take 2 of 3.
So is Chris a Mets fan?
Not sure. Have to go back and...
It feels like he phrased that. Like when he says that the Mets take 2 or 3, instead of saying if the Braves take 2 or 3.
Yep. He
Chris,
said
can you clarify,
on
sir? September
September 20th, he texted us at 6:10 and he hit us with a "Let's go Mets."
Okay.
So we got
Thank you for listening, Chris.
We got Chris there clearing it up. He's a Mets fan going into the week, so
just wanted to be clear where you stood.
So we got that going as well. Yep, playoffs are starting to wrap up here, and we'll get into a little bit of that as we move through the week. But coming back, we'll get into some numbers from Saturday night at Williams-Brice Stadium. A lot to kind of talk about, some good numbers to discuss. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Dr. Dan Balknight and the Men's Clinic. You know, as we get older, our health changes. Things happen, and maybe right now you can't put your finger on it. Something feels a little off. Maybe you're a little more tired than you usually are. Maybe you've been struggling to recover a little more after working out. Maybe there's something as simple as you've noticed your hair thinning, or you're gaining weight, but you're still trying to work out and stay fit. All these are problems that happen to men, and sometimes what we do is we start to shrug them off. We just start to say, no, it's part of the aging process. It is not, and it's a reason for you to call the Men's Clinic and Dr. Dan Balknight today. 803-875-MENS. That's how you can schedule an appointment. The Men's Clinic was established to provide the highest quality of men's health services available in South Carolina. They are passionate about helping men prioritize their well-being and rediscover the best version of themselves. So if you've had some of these issues lately, it's time to call Dr. Dan, the Men's Clinic, and schedule an appointment. 803-875-MENS. For more information, go on the web, themensclinicsc.com. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
No accidents to report at this time. And as far as your traffic goes, things looking pretty good, that is. 93 for the high today. Could see a couple afternoon or evening storms today and tomorrow. And actually, we might see that pattern continuing throughout the week. Chances for afternoon or evening storms as our temperatures remain a little bit higher. 91 tomorrow, 89 on Wednesday, 82 on Thursday and Friday. Right now, though, it is a little bit overcast, 71 on the early game.
Hunts in the backfield, through wide receiver set. Ashford, play action inside, wants to throw. Now going to go down the middle, got a man wide open. Caught! Touchdown Carolina! Touchdown! Mazio Bennett from 30 yards out. I don't know if we can question Robbie Ashford or not. That's as good as a post route as you'll ever see. The extra point could make it 14-0 Carolina with 53 seconds to go in the first quarter.
That was the call Saturday night, as you hear it there from Todd Ellis and Tommy Suggs. Robbie Ashford with a strike down the middle of the field to freshman Mazio Bennett. While I don't know how good of friends they are, but I shouldn't say either former, but Florida State commitment Malik Clark in the building, at least taking in the game and seeing a passing offense that looked adequate and seeing a freshman catch a touchdown pass. Preston Thorne.
Malik Clark's a wide receiver?
Yep.
Okay.
Committed to Florida State over South Carolina, I guess about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago in July.
Yeah. Well,
but taking a visit.
You want to see young people catching. You want to see young people playing. You want to see people that you know making plays. It's very much easier to see yourself in that same type of position, so that's a good look.
So that was one really good touchdown. That put the Gamecocks up 13-0, and then the Gamecocks. It's funny how things play out. I cannot remember who it was, Preston, but somebody called in on Friday, and I think they predicted 43-7. Somebody said 43.
I got 43-14.
43-14. I can't remember.
43-14. I got that written down.
I can't remember who did that. Kudos to you, sir, for doing that, because when they went for two and remember we joked a little bit on Friday. We'll start our number segment right here. I was like, well, 40. At first I was like, 43? How do you get that number? And I was like, well, it is Beamer. He tends to fake an extra point and go for the 2-point conversion at some point. Okay, I can kind of see it. And when it happened right then to make it 15-0, I went, that caller is going to get it dead right, isn't he? He's going to get it. He almost did. One extra touchdown for the Gamecocks, one less for Akron. But we got some numbers to get into here. As again, South Carolina moves to 3-1 on the season, 50-7 on Saturday night over Akron. And what's the first number you want to start with?
My first number is going to go with 71, Bill, as in 71%. As in Robbie Ashford was 71% from the field throwing the ball. 20 whole percentage points higher than his normal 50-50 claim. He's usually about 1 or 2 from the field as a career, and on Saturday night he was 71%. Astounding numbers, extremely accurate. I don't know whether that was partly obviously because of him, partly because of Akron, but also partly because of the game plan. Great job, 71% completion percentage.
I'm going to piggyback. I'll just go ahead and move this one up on my list then. Not all Robbie Ashford, but 12 different Gamecocks catching passes on Saturday night. Mazio Bennett led the way in terms of receptions, 5 for 71 yards. Gage Larvindan saw the most action he'd seen all season, and he had 2 catches for 79 yards. He looked very nice coming along in some of those situations. They even got Nick Harbor to catch 2 passes out there, 2 passes caught by Harbor for 17 yards. Joshua Simon caught 1 for 17. Dalvon Campbell caught 1 for 27. Eric Rice came in mop-up duty and had 2 catches for 20 yards. Juju McDowell 1 for 12. Brady Hunt 1 for 11. Connor Cox catching a touchdown from Davis Bevel for 9 yards. Raheem Sanders, Rocket Sanders catching 1 for 6. Peyton Mangrum getting involved for 4 yards, and Michael Smith getting involved for 3 yards. So Preston, yeah, Robbie Ashford 15 of 21, but 19 receptions on the night. And again, the number that stood out to me, because this is spreading the ball around, 12 different guys got to catch passes on Saturday night. Again, Mazio Bennett caught 5 of them.
Yeah, Mazio's leading the team in receptions also. So he's having a great freshman season, as you said. If there's other freshmen that are looking around and thinking if they're going to get a chance to play, that is something that you would want to see. Let's flip this to the other side of the ball. The number is 10. 10 punts.
10 punts.
10 punts for Akron. The defense made the Akron punt 10 out of 13 possessions. That is astonished. That is amazing defense. That is domination as far as the defensive side of the ball is concerned. They had one slip up on the touchdown, which I think the DB got a little bit lost in coverage. I'm not sure what.
It actually was still a really good pass.
It was a great throw, great catch. But I do think the DB got a little bit lost and maybe miscalculated the timing of his jump. But 10 or 13 punts, that's what you want to do to a team that is obviously not as good as you. You want to be able to go out there and dominate. And 10 out of 13 possessions ending in a punt is a great sign for the defense.
36 to, I'm going to just round down a little bit, 36 to 24, time of possession in this game. Again, another game which was nice because you were able to kind of keep the defense off the field a good bit. South Carolina was able to control the football. Again, 19 to 27 passing. Preston on Saturday night, 53 rushes for 273 yards. It's Akron. Let's be very clear about that. But I thought it was one of the better called offensive game plans I've seen from Dow Loggins. Just, as you said, just going and running the play. Not trying to get cute, not trying to get fancy, not trying to ask Robbie Ashford to do things he simply can't do. But South Carolina controlled the ball. They were the better team. They ran the football effectively, 5.2 yards per carry on Saturday night. Still some stuff to work on in the pass protection thing, but 36 minutes of ball control I thought was a sign that Dow Loggins didn't try and get crazy, didn't try and get fancy, just did what South Carolina should have done and controlled the ball with the run game and some good passing.
Yeah, especially against a team which you are better than. You want to go out and be able to dominate them and be able to. That's why when you were watching the game, it felt like it was moving at a pretty leisurely pace because they were dominant, holding the ball, converting on third down, doing the things that what you need to do. And most importantly, this goes to my next number. We can either do this. I'm going to go with this number as 100.
Okay.
As in 100%. As in they were 4 of 4 when they entered into the red zone. 4 of 4, meaning every time that they entered into the red zone, 20 going in, they scored. And not only did they scored 4 touchdowns for 28 points. So that's maximum efficiency. That's what you want to see from your team. Will that happen every game? Of course not. But you want your team to go into the red zone and score touchdowns when they get in there. That's how you win games that you are supposed to win, and that's how you steal games that that you're not supposed to. So moving forward, they're going to need to keep that percentage up as high as possible.
I'm going to go see. We are now a quarter of the way through. We'll wrap up. The month of September is wrapped up. But the number here is 16. And also is tied for worst in the country. Do you want to ballpark what that number is?
Is that...
Or do you want to take a guess as to what the number that is?
I saw a stat early in the game. It was like third down conversions, but I don't know if that's the number. That was early in the game.
It is 16 is the number of sacks given up so far this season, which is tied. Welcome, California. Welcome, Colorado. Thank you for being a part of this game. But tied for worst in the country, and South Carolina has had more sack yardage, not gaining sacks, but being sacked 127, which is worst in the country. Shane Beamer saying it last night during his teleconference. We don't have the audio from the teleconference, but Shane basically saying, he said, there's no question about it. You can manipulate and tell yourself whatever you want whenever it comes to stats and shape it to a narrative, positive or negative, but 16 sacks are 16 sacks. We've been sacked way too many times.
Good for you, Shane. Good for you for saying that. I appreciate you saying that and not trying to gaslight us into thinking something else.
In all seriousness, him saying that, I feel, and I don't want to offend him or anybody, but it's growth as a coach, acknowledging we have an issue here. And look, you're going to exit the month of September with a special season on the horizon. I mean, look, I'm not impressed. I said it at the beginning, and it's come to fruition this far. I'm not impressed with Oklahoma. I'm not really overly impressed with Texas A&M. I don't know what to think of Missouri right now. Vanderbilt's a little bit better than maybe we thought. Maybe I got to be more aware of Vanderbilt. Wofford's out there. Clemson rolled on Saturday, but NC State's apparently given up on football. Maybe the whole state of North Carolina has given up on football because...
Tune in for At Least We Ain't.
Yeah. Uh, but the bottom line is you will exit with, as you say, all your dreams and goals and everything in front of you. You have the opportunity for some really big wins. There's a lot in front of you. That offensive line has to play better.
To add on to the things that we'll get better with this also. Matter of fact, I'm going to hold this one, but that is true. And I do appreciate Shane for saying, hey, look, we need to play better if we want to accomplish things that we want to accomplish.
There's a lot there that is possible. Let's get out to the phone lines real quick. Ernest wants to weigh in. Ernest, how you doing this morning? Got about a minute and a half. How you doing?
Hey, Bill, just real quick. I told you all that we would have over 500 yards total offense. You said no possible way. We did it. So here's my salute to you, Bill Gunner.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm okay with that because somebody, I don't think it was you. I think you called in. I think I'd have to go back, Ernest. And somebody said that if we didn't get 500 yards, that was a sign of bad things to come. And I was like, well, hey, Ohio State only had 400. So, you know what, Ernest? Shout out to you. I now think we're better than Ohio State. Put it on the board, Ohio State. We want you next. We'll play you in the bye week. 803-404-6100. Good call there on the 500 yards. We'll come back. We'll get into a few more numbers and see what's out there. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet, where the lazy days and the quick road trips, they're all gone. Summer's over. But at Love Chevrolet, they're still revving up. They're still offering incredible deals. They're still offering the absolute largest selection of Chevrolets anywhere here in the Midlands. That's right, with 14 acres of brand new Chevys to choose from. That's why Love Chevrolet has been and will continue to be the number one volume Chevy dealership here in the Midlands. Get out there today and check out the amazing savings that are taking place, whether you're looking for a Tahoe, a Suburban, or maybe you need to just go check out that totally redesigned Chevrolet Traverse. It's a bold exterior design, turbocharged V6, and best in-class cargo area. Trust me, it's plenty of space for the team and the tailgate. Get out to Love Chevrolet today, I-26 in Harbison, between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also check them out on the web, lovechevy.com. Don't miss these incredible savings taking place this fall. Stop by Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
Still looking pretty good out there on the highway this morning. Not a typical Monday, so we hope it stays that way for you. Going to be warm, 93 for the high. A few afternoon or evening storms are possible. Kind of going to see that pattern for the next few days. 91 tomorrow, 89 on Wednesday, low 80s by the time we get to the end of the week. By Friday, we could actually see some heavy rain. Right now, it is 71 on 107.5 The Game.
Two-yard line with 5:24 to go in the first quarter. 13th play of the drive. Handoff inside and into the end zone. Touchdown, Carolina.
Untouched.
Touchdown, Oscar Attaway. The first of his career in the Garnet and Black.
Yeah, the first touchdown of the game Saturday night, and yes, another set of numbers that we'll get to there in terms of guys getting carries, and we'll talk about that in a second. I want to remind you, though, about the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Well, guess what? No special teams touchdowns this past weekend. BYU had a really nice special teams touchdown, though, where the poor dude on the field ran, what do you think, about 160 yards?
Nice, depending on what side of the ball you're on, because, boy, that special teams coach from Kansas State blew a gasket. For sure.
We might readdress that one later. But no special teams touchdowns for South Carolina. That means for the Mississippi game, the pot will be $500. You can win it. All you got to do is go to 1075thegame.com and get registered. And if South Carolina scores a special teams touchdown against Mississippi, somebody will win $500. It's the Lawyer Lisa Special Teams Contest. Go to 1075thegame.com and register. You got another number for us?
Yeah, well, this was gonna go in our good, better, best, and so
Okay.
I'm gonna hold that particular number. But a lot of these numbers all make sense just to sort of wrap that conversation up. I think if you looked at what we talked about, that tells the story of the game, that it was a dominant performance. I mean, obviously 50-7, and not only was that, because we've had a couple games. Like, you want to go back to the game against Eastern Illinois during the Shane Beamer era. It was 46-0. Didn't feel good, though.
Right. Felt odd. Felt clunky.
Didn't feel great. We had Charlotte maybe last year was a blowout. Didn't feel good, though. I think so. We've had some of these games where we ended up scoring a lot of points, but it never felt like it didn't feel the way this one felt. This one felt like domination from whistle to whistle from the beginning of the game to the end. This was just what the doctor ordered after an LSU game.
To go back to what you're saying, South Carolina's offense is putting up points. 31, 33, and now 50 is the run that they are on. I believe it is the first time since the end of the 2022 season, Preston, when they put up 63 against Tennessee, 31 against Clemson, and 38 in the bowl game, that they've been on a run similar to this with putting up points. To your point, back in 2022, South Carolina did have the back-to-back games against Charlotte where they won 56-20 and South Carolina State where they won 50-10. That Thursday, if you remember, that South Carolina State game got moved up from a Saturday to a Thursday because of a hurricane, and that was kind of an odd. Yeah, that the rain was starting to come in that night, and it was kind of like, let's get this game in. Everybody hurry, and get it out of the way. Saturday night was just a relaxing environment, and I think once people, kind of to your point, once people saw that South Carolina was going to be in control, we were going to have one of those 21-14 late third quarter games where you're teetering on the edge, similar to Old Dominion. I think everybody settled in and relaxed and was like, let's just take in some football tonight.
Yeah, let's let the fireworks go. Let's have the light show. All the things that we come to enjoy, night games. This is perfect night game, perfect first night game of the year.
So good, better, best.
Good, better, best. And so for our goods, we're going to go with good for you. And I would like to give my first good for you to Juju McDowell. Good for you, Juju. You've been around the program for a long time. By all accounts, a great young man, a leader in the clubhouse. has not played for various reasons, whether it's injuries or just not to be able to get him into the scheme. And I want to say good for Juju being able to get some quality playing time, get some reps, score a touchdown, and all that stuff. So good for you, Juju.
Now I feel like I might want to alter mine. I'm going to go with my initial good because you're right. We're going to stay in a lot of the running back room here with this. The good for me, I probably should have mentioned him more last week, but a guy that you've talked about because your good buddy, Nashawn Goddard, is the offensive line coach down at Sacramento State. But I was really interested to see Jarwan Howe. This is a kid who is a younger player. So he's not a one and done. Sacramento's going to lose Rocket Sanders and Oscar Attaway next year, and there's a lot of speculation. I think that Jarwan Howe could be the guy that fulfills that role and is the next running back for South Carolina. So I've been wanting to see him. I know it's Akron. I was impressed. 5 carries on Saturday night, 33 yards, had himself a touchdown in there. That's why you need these games like this to blow people out. So he gets in there. Matthew Fuller, also the freshman who they really like, had 8 carries for 25 yards. The good for me, it feels like the running back room is in a nice little spot there. Obviously, you'll probably want to go out and hit the transfer portal in the offseason to continue to build depth. But I'm with you there. Jarwan Howe and and Matthew Fuller, 2 young running backs getting carries there. And again, seeing Howe, who you've talked a lot about.
Yeah, I mean, Nashawn, like I said, he coached him at South Carolina State, and several other coaches who coached against him felt like he was going to be the real deal, and he's somebody that's going to make an impact. And I think it's important to note that he's a young player, and so he wasn't necessarily a plan for immediate impact. Right. He's a guy that's going to be making impact, hopefully for years to come.
All right, what you got for the better?
For the better, we got to get better at the penalties. Still need to get better at the penalties. 7 penalties for 70 yards, still something that they need to. Much in the same vein as the sacks. If the team plans on making a special run this year, they're going to have to cut down the penalties. We obviously know what happened 2 weeks ago.
Well,
we're not there, even though we could be there. I was having some thoughts as I saw that game tied at 17-17. I was wondering what's going on with them, but that's neither here nor there. They have to be able to get the penalties under control in order for them to make the steps that they want to make.
Better. I was a part of this. I'm not joking here. I sat the bench a good bit, especially my junior year at Lexington on the basketball team. Preston, you've played college football. When you get to see guys, and you just mentioned Juju McDowell and his touchdown, if you haven't seen the celebration and Vandrevius Jacobs celebrating with him, but the excitement for Juju McDowell to score the touchdown, and then later on in the game, the excitement for Davis Bevel to throw a touchdown. You know, we joke about it, and Shane is an ultra-positive guy. But there are times you really see that chemistry and what he's tried to create in that athletic facility over there, that practice facility, and come together. Saturday was fun to watch guys celebrating together, rallying around each other, guys that may not get another opportunity this year to get opportunities, and their teammates being there to celebrate with them. I really liked what I saw just Saturday night from this team, who it's easy to fall apart and point fingers when you lose a game like LSU. It looked like they were all having a lot of fun Saturday night.
Well, and you saw that, too, with Robbie Ashford after the game when he was talking about how they were celebrating the fact that he got the gig, and that he was going to be starting. He genuinely felt welcomed, appreciated, supported, and all of that. So that also speaks to the culture.
Yeah, and it could be lip service. I don't know, but I heard Robbie say that, yes, he's been a part of a lot of teams, which he's traveled around, and he said that he feels like there's something special in the team. And I think that's really cool for the backup quarterback to be saying that, because he knows what his role is supposed to be. He understands what that is, but he had an opportunity to play, and he took advantage of it.
So best?
This was the best offensive game plan that Dow Loggins has put together. I know it was Akron. I get it. But just from a conceptual way that he had the offensive game plan designed, this is the first game plan that I've seen. It made sense. It looked like everything was building off one another. The plays made sense. Yes, I know. It's Akron. But just the way that he called plays and designed plays, this was the best offensive game plan I've seen from Dow Loggins. This game plan made a lot of sense.
I just went best. I know it's Akron, and again, I know last week there was 2 particular carries that went a long way. It's back-to-back games of 240 yards or more rushing for the Gamecocks. Like, we talked about it. The sacks have got to be cleaned up, but there's something to be said. We talked about it going into the Old Dominion game. Establish yourself as a ground and pound team. That needs to be the identity of this football team. I know it's Akron. The other one was LSU. It is what it is. But South Carolina, I think, you develop that mindset, Preston, slowly. You don't have one game where you run for 250 yards and go, oh, yeah, we're a running team. But when you put multiple games and stuff on film, and you're going to need that run game when you go to Alabama, when you go to Oklahoma specifically to win games. I like that even against Akron, they went out and they did what we asked. Push them around, shove them out the way, and run the football, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement. And like I said, I would like to see this offensive game plan when Lenoris gets healthy. Let's run this same game plan. We don't need to do – sometimes I think maybe because Lenoris can do more, we felt like we maybe had to do more, and I'm not sure if we do or not.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll discuss some uniforms, wrap up hour number 1. It is the early game.
Hey guys, it's Preston for your broker, my broker, Benji Getzy at Buford Lending. Buford Lending is a true mortgage broker offering the widest variety of government mortgage programs and the best mortgage experience for clients through its state-of-the-art technology and record low interest rates. Their goal is to make your next mortgage experience in closing easier, cheaper, faster, and friendlier. Since 1997, Benji and his team have served thousands of investors with their dreams of real estate investing, and they specialize in DSCR loans and fix and flip financing. Benji and his team are VA, FHA, and USDA government loan experts, and they offer competitive jumbo financing as well as conventional and construction lending. Benji has helped over 8,000 families experience the dream home ownership. So shop your rate now with Buford Lending. We want to be your broker. Call 843-524-2404. That's 843-524-2404.
play of the drive. Robbie Ashford working off the right hash mark. Juju moves to his right. Now Bennett comes in motion over to the right side. Watch for Harbor. Fake inside. Juju out of the backfield at the 10, 5. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Juju McDowell on a wheel route. A beautifully designed play by Dowell Loggins. The extra point could make it 22-0 Carolina with 4:28 to go in the first half. That's a 12-yard catch and run.
That was the call of South County here. There went up 21-0 on Saturday night. The extra point would make it 22-0. And again, as we said, it was really fun. You mentioned Juju McDowell. He's been here for, I think, since sometime around when you graduated. He was a guy who had a big run back against East Carolina in Shane Beamer's first year that set up the game-winning field goal. That's been around for a while, huh?
Wow.
And gets the score on Saturday night, and to watch everybody celebrate with him down there in the end zone was really cool.
Unless you're an old curmudgeon like me, but that'll be in Thorns, Buds, and Roses coming up soon.
Or it's fun to see where fans are when somebody around you's like, well, Ashford threw the ball behind him on the pass. If he'd have let him, he'd have strolled into the end zone. He had to spin around to catch the pass. They're just 22-0, man. Just go home, fix a drink, and relax, Bo.
Yeah. Saturday night was the night to relax. Let's relax.
I know the pass was behind him, but it worked, and he scored. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. I want to remind you, by the way, different this week. It is Carolina Calls, but not with Shane Beamer. It's with Lamont Paris.
Ooh.
And Derek Scott. It'll be Wednesday night at 6:03, and you'll get to hear from him Wednesday. It's Wednesday this week, not Thursday. Wednesday night at Backstreet's Grill. It'll be Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. You can get out there for that. I heard Todd and Shane last week. Todd said he was going on vacation. 3 weeks. He's had enough. He's going on vacation. Shane's got to do recruiting. So Lamont Paris this week for Carolina Calls. Let's get out to the phone lines. Joe wants to weigh in. Joe, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
What's going on, Bill, Preston? You guys doing all right this morning?
Doing well.
Great.
Good, man. So listen, I enjoyed Saturday's game, man. I really did. We did what I thought we'd do. I thought we run the ball a lot better than we did, but it was fun watching the game. I have no ill feeling towards the game. My question to you guys, what do you think about right tackle? Is it consistent or is it not consistent? As far as the O-line, that's the only position that I'm concerned about. I mean, I thought that number 75 was going to progress, but he's still yet doing things that I don't think he should be doing at the right tackle spot. The receivers are continuing to get better. My question to you fellas this morning is, being that we have 2 weeks to prepare for Ole Miss, is this Dowell Loggins' biggest play-calling game of his career at South Carolina? And I'll listen to what you guys have to say about that question.
First of all, Joe, you get the show.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't considered it, but maybe I might be considering now. Is this Dowell Loggins' biggest play call? I'm going to sit on that, but you might be right on that. As far as right tackle, I want to look at the PFF grades because we're talking about Kaysen, correct?
Yeah.
We know Kaysen. They've been very high. They've been very high on Kaysen all year. He started last year, got injured against North Carolina, worked his way back, and he's been one of the guys who's been penciled in as a starter almost seems like unanimously from bell to bell. He was expected to play significant minutes in that Gator Bowl and got hurt. Yeah. That's how far that goes back. So he's a guy that they're very high. I want to, Joe, I'm not trying to filibuster. I want to look at the PFF grades and get back to you on that so I can have an accurate assessment on that. But my eye tells me he's fine. I'll be honest, 50-7, I didn't take any time yesterday to go back and rewatch the game and just look at little intricate things like that. I know that he has been the one that seemed to have struggled the most. I feel like we give Josiah Thompson a pass when he struggles because you're like, well, true freshman. Kaysen Henry is in his third year, but he's been injured. This is the first time he's playing significant snaps. That is, I will say, and we'll try and get a better discussion on that later in the week with the offensive line. But one of the, maybe I should have said the good or better parts, or maybe go best with it, is the fact that through 4 games, that offensive line is all intact. Yeah. You're going to go into a bye week with 4 games of film for Lonnie Teasley and Sean Elliott and Sam Serby and whomever, Shane Beamer, to go in there and say, we're not having to move guys around and play backups right now. You can allow those guys to rest a little bit more, but also
you've had 4 games for them to really develop, and this can be, I guess, since it's a bye week, a little bit of a developmental week where you spend time getting back to the basics.
Big time developmental week, especially for the young guys like Josiah Thompson. They can work on basic things instead of having the pressure of a game plan on top of them.
A lot to get into. 50-7 makes it a happy day around here. We're all smiles, and Joe completely understood the program. Do we put signs out? Biggest game of Dow Loggins' career? Well, we got 2 weeks to figure that one out. We'll talk with Jamie Bradford, though, and recap some more Akron when we come back. It's the early game.
Preston here. Let me tell you about our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. Yes, they will come out to wherever you are, replace your glass, and take it away. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows or mirrors, Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. I say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
It appears that we're not Mondaying out on the highways this morning. Things looking really good. No slowdowns, no major accidents that we are aware of at this time. We have a pattern of some afternoon or evening storms that we should be expecting a good part of this week, actually. Today's high 93, 91 tomorrow, 89 on Wednesday before we get into the low 80s for Thursday and Friday. But it's a little bit overcast right now, and we are looking at 71 on the early game.
Up and at 'em. Hour 2 on your Monday morning, where we'll get into it a little bit. We'll get into big picture here, but South Carolina is going to exit the month of September 3-1, and so close to being 4-0. Maybe that's a part where later in the week, Preston, even though we moved on from LSU last week, you go back and you go, man, what could have been? Because we got a week to do that. We got a week where we can play fast and loose with our show rules here.
But it was kind of fun that we actually saw somebody in the stands who was dressed as a clown in the ref's outfit.
I missed that. I missed that totally.
Yeah, he was in a ref's outfit, had an LSU hat on and a clown face. It was fabulous.
He put in work.
It's good.
Let's say he didn't half rear end it. Let's just say that he went full on clown.
We appreciate your service.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. So, but South Carolina exits the month, or will exit the month when they get back to playing 3-1. I hate to say, and Jamie Bradford, welcome in. I hate to say that that's about as great as you could hope for, because we're probably one penalty away from being 4-0, and that would be that would have this place just absolutely on fire. But Jamie, welcome in. Let's start with you. Your thoughts on what you saw Saturday night in that Akron game?
Yeah, well, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do against teams like that. Here, I'll throw a barn buster at you first thing. You think about this, do your research. I've been doing as much as I can, and I haven't been able to get the exact answer. We're only through 4 games now, but in 2 of these 4 games, Carolina has held their opponent under 200 total yards of offense. When was the last season South Carolina held 2 opponents under 200 yards of total offense? And I've gone back so far to 2017, and it's none of them. There have been some close, but you have to go back to at least 2017 and still doing research.
So you haven't.
That's a nice stat.
In 2017, you haven't found one in 2017. Is that right? You just haven't made it past that.
Every season through 2017. There's been a couple with like 1, and then a couple other games a little bit over 200, but not under. We haven't had 2 games under 200 total yards, let alone in the first 4 games. I don't even know if that's ever happened in my lifetime.
Nope. Navy had 335. My first thought was there was the back-to-back games where South Carolina, the defense absolutely demolished Vanderbilt and Navy in back-to-back weeks, and it still might. I'm starting with 2011, as I'll let you make your point. I'm going 2011, and that defense. Nope, Auburn pretty much led by Mike Dyer in that game, who had 141 yards rushing. That was a loss for South Carolina. Well, that's an interesting stat on that.
No, I think that's a very interesting stat, and it's very compelling because of all of the things that these players were saying preseason. Donuts, historic, and they might actually be on that path. So that is really interesting, Jamie.
Well, to your point, in 2011, they did hold Tennessee under 200 that year.
In 2011?
In 2011.
All right, then it's going to be 2011 because there's also appears to be so you're going to have 3 games. Yeah, Kentucky in 2011 only had 96 total yards. That was the Connor Shaw start that South Carolina won 54-3. And also, I believe there's a suffocating performance against Vanderbilt earlier in the year. So if you're saying there's also a Tennessee holding them under 200 yards, you're going to actually that was my first thought, was going back to 2011. So defense.
Well, that tells you something, doesn't it? Doesn't that tell you something? Because that 2011 defense was outstanding.
Mm-hmm. And they're going to have to continue to be outstanding. Yeah, Vanderbilt had 77 that year. They're gonna have to be, and they're gonna have to make some adjustments in this bye week. Get a few guys get them healthy. Preston, real quick, let me ask you this: for a guy like Dylan Stewart, who now goes from the high school ranks, where you're just physically better than everybody, and we know now what he is this a good time for a break for him? You've had all of August where you're practicing, and now you have your first 4 games here in September. I know August 31st, but September. Do you feel it a little bit as a freshman, not knowing maybe how to pace yourself for the season?
Yeah, and I would assume so. He's just not used to people putting these heavy hands on him as he's been doing this whole time. The pace of play, the mental load of all of these. Clayton, no matter what defense you played in high school, you didn't have this many different checks and formations and all this stuff. So I'm sure Dylan's swimming, and this is a good chance for him to take a breath and relax and recover not only physically but mentally.
I say that because, again, not that he played a bad game, but Saturday night, only 2 tackles, 2 total tackles, one of them a solo. I wondered if he's just, I don't say wearing down. That's not fair, but you understand my point about, we always talk about it. I always talk about it in basketball where freshmen hit a wall in about January or early February because you're playing more games than you've ever played in your life. And that's where you start to go, okay, who's going to fight through the early part of February? We wondered about that this past year with South Carolina's team, but I do wonder with Dylan Stewart if this comes at a great time where he's going to have a week to breathe. And maybe, again, just as we talked about with Josiah Thompson, reevaluate film and say, oh, okay, here's what I need to fix and adjust coming up for these next 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jamie, you kind of got into it a little bit. You started with that defensive stuff, with that great defensive stat. What was your takeaway from Saturday night?
Yeah, kind of more of the same. I mean, they play with a chip on their shoulder, right? They fly around. We talked all summer really about the fact that this team was going to have to lean on their defense to win games early in the season, at least. I mean, probably throughout the season, but definitely early on as the offense kind of tried to get itself figured out. And these guys have provided that. They're your rock, when you have a relationship, she's the rock of my relationship. They're the rock of this relationship here at South Carolina. Those guys are always going to give you a chance. Now, you got 4 straight ranked games coming up, and obviously we know what's going on with Ole Miss and Alabama. Those are going to be very difficult. Hopefully the TV boys are good to us today and they give us a night kick for the Rebels and the Gamecocks on October 5th. But these guys they're going to have to continue to force some takeaways, right? And try to make some teams. I don't know that one-dimensional is the term. I think it's kind of hard to do that against teams like Ole Miss and Alabama. But at least force them to maybe lean one way more than the other, and that'll give them some more opportunities to make some big plays.
We'll get into it next week a lot with Mississippi. I do wonder what Mississippi is like when they come in this coming weekend, because they're beating Wake Forest so bad. Wake Forest is paying them to get out of future games. Georgia Southern didn't stand a chance this week. The truth is Mississippi is a very, very, very good football team without doubt. But my other question is does it affect them that they have not had to play any kind of competition just yet? I don't know, Preston, when you go through a full month like that and they'll be favored. They'll probably be favored by double digits is kind of what I would expect. But right now they've beat up on Furman, Middle Tennessee, Wake Forest, and Georgia Southern. They do play at noon at home this week against Kentucky, so it gives you a little bit of a barometer, maybe a little bit better barometer of what they really are. But, 76-0, 52-3, 40-6, and 52-13. They're going out and not even breaking a sweat. Lane Kiffin, his poor clipboard hadn't been tossed in the sky over a touchdown just yet this season, so he's excited. But what now does South Carolina do, in your opinion, Jamie, to get prepared for that game?
Get healthy. That's number one. If Lenore Sellers and Rocket Sanders aren't healthy in that game, that is going to be a really tall task. You're going to have to score points. Now, I will say this. Ole Miss on the road under Lane Kiffin, the record actually isn't that bad. It's certainly not as good as to what they do at home, but they do not score as many points on the road at all. They average 21 or 22, something like that on the road when they play in the SEC. But you're still going to have to score points. And if you don't have your running back and you don't have your quarterback, and I think they'll have both, but if for some reason it's maybe a little bit worse than you think, or they have a setback or something, that starts to bring some issues. So you got to get healthy. And then I know we're kind of getting towards the break here, but I had 3 key points going into the game this past weekend, things that absolutely 100% matter when you play teams that can beat you. Akron couldn't beat South Carolina. But when you play teams that can beat you, like in the SEC, penalties, turnovers, third down conversion percentage, all of them have been bad this year for South Carolina. And I'm not so sure that we saw a ton of improvement this past weekend. So those things need to get better too. Those numbers are really pretty putrid when you look at it.
803-404-6100. We'll get into a little bit more numbers, kind of what Jamie referenced there, and put the Akron game a little bit to bed there when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, joined as always on a Monday morning by Jamie Bradford. It is the early game.
They say perfection is a journey. Well, our journey led us to updating a bathroom in our house, and that then led us to Carolina Stone Craftsman just outside Columbia in Chapin. With that renovation, of course, once you replace a bathroom cabinet, you kind of need a countertop. And a friend of ours referred us to Carolina Stone Craftsman. It was great. We felt at home right away. We toured their showroom, which is amazing. Learned about how they really use the highest craftsmanship to take care of everything with the marble and the granite and the quartz. And it's just all delivered with such professional results, from being at the showroom, from the measuring at our home, selecting the granite, and then the installation. Everything went beautifully. And we really, truly cannot be more thrilled. If you're in the market for countertops for your kitchen or your bath, I encourage you to reach out to Carolina Stone Craftsman and tell them that Jen Jensen sent you. They have a saying, they invite you to take them for granite. Carolina Stone Craftsman, just beyond Columbia in Chapin and beyond your expectations. CarolinaStoneCraftsman.com. It's actually very impressive this Monday morning. We don't really have anything to speak of accident-wise. So we welcome that and hope it stays that way. We do want to start your week off properly. 93 for the high today, 91 tomorrow, 89 on Wednesday before we hit the low 80s Thursday and Friday. But each of these days will be experiencing potential for afternoon and evening storms. So expect that all day and potentially heavy rain on Friday. So right now, it's not too shabby, though. It's very dry. 71 on the early game.
that left hash mark, heading towards the zone here. And it's Ashford wide open on his own inside the 30, left side. 20, 10, 5. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Robbie Ashford. He's thrown for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. And now Ashford's got one on the ground from 36 yards out. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Robbie Ashford. The score's 35-7. The extra point upcoming with 13-14 to go.
That was the call there, is Robbie Ashford. Was that his highlight play of the game? He had a couple really good plays, but was that kind of the highlight cement play for him? Like, what a performance.
It couldn't have been the highlight because we didn't get a boom from Todd. We didn't get an oh baby. We didn't get any of those signature calls. So I'm not sure what was. Todd was relaxed also.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Saturday night.
Jamie, what did Robbie Ashford's performance, and I'll start with Jamie and come back to Preston with you on this, in terms of comfort and knowing now that maybe South Carolina has a backup, or how do we address that performance? I do think you got to be honest. It was Akron, but at the same time, 243 yards, 243 yards passing, 133 running. That's a very strong individual
performance.
Jamie?
It absolutely. Yeah, it is. Well, I like this kid. I liked him when he came here. I like his confidence. He knows that. Shane Beamer said something for the last few months that I think really struck a chord with me, at least when he was talking about Robbie Ashford. Hey, look, there were a lot of quarterbacks that we talked to that wanted to be guaranteed spots. Robbie Ashford wanted to come play football and compete, and that's a big thing. It's hard to win in college football or in any sport. And it's really hard to win with guys who just want to be given something. And this kid wanted to come in and compete and earn his opportunity. And look, Lenore Sellers has gone down twice now in 4 games. Like, this kid's going to continue to need to be ready to play. And I think that what happened on Saturday night will go a long way with his confidence. I like him when he's out of the pocket. Good things happen when he gets out of there with his legs and with his arm. He certainly made some nice throws from within it. There's no doubt. But he's a weapon. He's a weapon, and now he's got some confidence inside of himself too. He's had some big games in his career, by the way, at Auburn. So it's not like this is something new to him, but I think he's growing confident in this program. He's going to be able to help them win some more games down the road.
Auburn can't have him back. Auburn.
I bet they wish they had him now, don't they?
You can't have him back, Auburn. You let him go, you can't get him back.
There's an at least we ain't coming there, and you've got former players of Hugh Freeze throwing Hugh Freeze under the bus. You got Hugh Freeze throwing players under the bus. I think there's something like 6-19 now in their last 25. It's bad down there. It's bad down there, and they've got Georgia coming up in 2 weeks. Auburn does. Let's just be clear on this. We all agree, though, Lenore Sellers, if healthy, still the starter. Where nobody's ready to say, well, that performance, maybe we got to reconsider things.
No, I'm not ready to say that. No, not at all.
That's what I'm saying. You're still on the Sellers as the starter train, right? We're not adjusting anything. One performance doesn't change our opinion.
No, not at all. And that's no disrespect to Robbie Ashford, by the way. None at all.
Preston, does this at least, you think, open the door to being more willing to put Ashford in there in an event to get Lenoris out and just have him stand over there for a second if he's struggling a little bit, to just analyze the defense or see something?
I guess that's a possibility, but for me, it just seems like I would hope that the game plan that they instituted for Robbie against Akron, that they can just move towards Lenoris and help to do some of the same things, because I think Lenoris has all of those same skills, maybe plus 1 or 2 from Robbie. And it feels like maybe in my opinion, they did a really good job of game planning for Robbie, for his strengths. And I think they can take some of those same game plans and apply it to Lenoris.
Let me ask you guys this. Jamie, I don't think we did this prior to your segment last week. Preston and I went through and graded quarterbacks, running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, offensive line, so forth and so on. Everything. I think I want to change my grade on wide receivers because that was a huge question mark coming into the season. And I'll start with you, Preston. Mazio Bennett with 5 catches the other night is stepping up. Vandravius Jacobs, they got to get him healthy. That was the one that he did play, I think, 10 snaps the other night, but he is not healthy. Jared Brown was out, which, by the way, just FYI, 50 points, however you want to cut it, missing your what I guess is labeled as your top wide receiver. Basically, you don't have your top running back and you don't have your starting quarterback. 50 points even is still pretty – 500 yards is still pretty impressive. But let me go back to the wide receivers. Gage Larvindan stepped up on Saturday night and made some catches. Dalvon Campbell had another catch down the field for 27 yards. Again, I mentioned Mazio Bennett. You get Jared Brown back and you get Vandravius Jacobs back. All of a sudden, that wide receiver room, I think they're just missing maybe that big play that puts them on the map. Preston, you agree with that?
Yeah, that seems like they have a bunch of guys who can make plays. And just reading between the lines from what I think I might have heard Shane say, seemed like Gage is learning how to practice better, learning how to perform in the weeks before game times. And so you're starting to see that on Saturday. So that was good to see him sort of step out because we had heard a lot about him. But, yeah, you're starting to see a lot of guys who can make plays, and that is beneficial.
Jamie, your thoughts? I mean, I think these wide receivers, they're almost becoming an underrated part of this team right now. I like the way Mike Furry seems to be developing them. Obviously, he's had spring ball and now fall camp as well, but you've also had a month of the season. I think I'm really growing. And by the way, one other thing about this wide receiving group, Vandravius Jacobs is a young player. Mazio Bennett is a freshman. Jared Brown has another year of eligibility. This group, all of a sudden, I kind of like where they're going with this group.
Well, yeah, and you throw in the tight ends, too, and you got a bunch of guys who you feel pretty good about. And a lot of those tight ends, as we all know, outside of Josh Simon, are all young guys. So, yeah, I think the future is really bright. I mean, I've liked this group for a while, to be honest with you guys. I don't want that to sound like, oh, well, I've seen them play, 16 quarters of football, and let me lie to everybody and tell them, well, I was on board. But I was, from a talent standpoint. Like, they've got a bunch of really good football players, and quite frankly, you talk about the big play, both quarterbacks have missed opportunities for big plays this year, or we would have already seen it a couple of times. There's been some dudes who've gotten open, and they just haven't hit them. And that's okay. That happens. That's football. And they will hit one. And, my gut tells me it'll probably come against Ole Miss. I mean, things are kind of coming together. I mean, you got to continue to move the ball forward and not backward. You got to eliminate penalties. You got to get rid of these fumbles and this stuff. They're leading the country in fumbles. I mean, that's not good. So they got to eliminate that stuff. But if you continue, like Coach Beamer has said the last couple of weeks, hey, look, stop the negative plays, keep moving the ball forward. Good things will happen. And I think we're seeing a lot of that.
You know what, Jamie? That's a great point about the fumbles. We mentioned the sacks. They're last in the nation in sacks allowed. They're actually tied with Colorado and in California. They're 3-1. They really should be 4-0. And you make the point here that they haven't played. There's small little stats like that, Preston. Fumbles, sacks, penalties. I don't know where they are. I didn't look up penalties, but
I can tell you exactly where they are. They're 120th in the 112th in the country.
112th. Okay, yeah, I didn't look to see whether it was updated from last week, last night. But there's a lot that they can clean up, Jamie, and I'll start with you and then go back to Preston, that really should be cleaned up during this 2-week bye period.
Yeah, that's what these are for, right, Preston? I mean, the little things, the things that are correctable, like, a lot of these penalties. Now, look, granted, some of these penalties, of course, as we saw in the LSU game, you probably should take a couple of those off the board. It's not going to improve your quote-unquote ranking that much, but it absolutely would have affected the LSU game, and you're probably sitting there at 4-0. There's no question. But with that said, you talk about that. You talk about third down conversion percentage. You're only converting 30% of those on the year. Like, that number needs to improve. Now, they were 4 or 5 on fourth down this weekend, so they were using some drives saying, look, we have 4 plays here. All right, so if you don't get it on third, make sure we're at a good for fourth, and that worked out great. But the turnovers, the fact that they've lost 4 fumbles this year. They fumbled 8 times, but they've lost 4. Like that, that gets you beat, aka LSU. Shooting the Kentucky game, they got lucky with 2 of them, just kind of popped back into their hands. So those things need to get turned. They need to get turned around. You turn those things around, and I don't know if the word is dangerous or not, but maybe it is. I don't think we know. how dangerous they could be if you eliminate some of the silly stuff. I mean, again, this is a good group. They've got a lot of talent. They've done a great job putting them together. He's got a good staff. This is a good football team. You eliminate some of that silly stuff, and South Carolina is going to – that LSU game maybe would have surprised some people had they pulled it out, and most of the country thinks they should have won it. But there's still a lot of opportunities left for them to go in and raise some eyebrows. I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, well, to your point about silly stuff, and I know we're not going back to this, but take Kyle Kennard's performance against LSU. He had 3 major penalties. Obviously, the horse collar, the blocking the quarterback, but the silly stuff was jumping off sides on the 3rd down.
Mm-hmm.
So as a coach, you don't want to get into a situation where you're taking away your players' aggressiveness or you're trying to have them thinking too much while they're on the field. So you kind of excuse those. You say, all right, those within the game. But you want to take away the silly things, jumping off sides, pre-snap motions, man downfields, all of those things. And I think those are the things that are correctable during bye weeks.
Jamie?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, couldn't have said it any better, and he knows better than we do. I mean, Press is exactly right. You use a few days. You mentioned earlier kind of the reset. I think you were specifically talking about Dylan Stewart on the edge. Kind of there's going to be a few days where you get to actually teach some things. And I think overall that's going to be kind of the basis for practice this week in general with this program is to get some of that stuff cleaned up and get yourself healthy. And next week you start full attention on Ole Miss. I think they'll be primed and ready to go.
803-404-6100. Jamie's got an obligation this morning. We got to get him out a little bit earlier, so we'll come back, do one more segment with him, and we will move along. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, and Jamie Bradford. It is the early game. It might be a bye week this week, but there's never a bye week when it is grilling season. And I tell you what, at Old Timey Meat Market, they understand that. They got to bring their A game each and every weekend so that you have the absolute best selection of meats, whether it's chicken, whether it's pork, whether it's beef, or whether it's even seafood. Old Timey Meat Market has their A game each and every week. That's one of the reasons I love visiting the Lexington store. You can also visit the Irmo store on St. Andrews Road or the South Congaree store. Stop in, tell them Bill Gunner sent you, whether you want one of those fantastic bacon-wrapped fillets, whether you want some great pork chops, salmon. I got a box of oysters last weekend. Maybe it's hamburgers that you're seeking this weekend. Whatever it is, Old Timey Meat Market has you covered. Visit one of their 3 locations, the Irmo store on St. Andrews Road, South Congaree, or the Lexington store, where I can almost guarantee you're going to run into me. Stop by Old Timey Meat Market today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
No accidents to report at this time. Seeing some slowdowns there by Lexington Medical Center, kind of expected areas of slowdowns. Still seeing that in most locations across the Midlands. But no accidents to report, so that's wonderful to start our week. Yes, very slow heading I-26 eastbound around mile marker 102. As far as your forecast goes, 93 for the high today, 91 tomorrow, 89 for your high on Wednesday before we get to the low 80s Thursday and Friday. But every day it looks like this week so far, chances for afternoon or evening storms. Currently, though, it's clear and it's 71.
$7:34 as we roll along. Got one more segment here with Jamie Bradford, and we will move on from that and get ready for hour number 3. But we got this one segment here. First, also, let me remind you that there are just a few craft beer cards left. You can spend just $79 on a $360 value. That's 12 different craft beer locations, $30 at each one of those locations, and that equals $360. But you can get the craft beer card for just $79. Go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals. Purchase your craft beer card today. There's only a few of them left. A couple people weighing in this morning. And Preston, I'll start with you and then go to Jamie on this. Texter says, what are we missing about Luke Doty and Nick Harbor? If they're freak athletes, why are they not being utilized? Next texter, David, weighs in and says, well, we got what we asked for. Using Nick Harbor on the end around. Didn't exactly work. Y'all's thoughts on that? Your thoughts, Preston?
No. Let's take that play and put it deep back into the playbook. Let's not use that one again. And I don't think you're missing anything. I think the snap count tells the story of who the staff thinks gives the team the best opportunities to win. So I don't think you're missing anything.
Jamie?
Yeah, I don't know if you can say it any better than that. I do want to give Nick Harbor some credit. I think he gets a lot of flack for not being able to catch the football, but usually when the ball comes his way, he catches it. So, I think we're all waiting to see that one play where he kind of busts out into space and they hit him and he takes off, right? That's what everybody's waiting on since day one. That was a very, very slow developing play with him the other night. I was thinking to myself, oh my God, whatever. So let's probably, if that play's there, that's fine, but maybe it's more of like a pitch or something to get him going north and south, not necessarily east and west after 4 or 5 seconds. So that was something.
So hold on. What I feel like you're suggesting is the old Canadian football play where he lines up 15 yards behind the offense and starts running. It just takes off, and then by the time he gets close to the line of scrimmage, the ball snapped, you just flip it to him, and he's already full speed there as he goes downfield.
Yeah, it might do the job about as well as that one worked the other night. We need to probably store that away. But I'm not an offensive coordinator. Nobody asked me, and if Dowell's listening to this, he's probably chuckling, and I don't blame him. But it was a very slow developing deal. So let's give some props, by the way, to Oscar Attaway, Matthew Fuller, Juwan Howell, like those guys getting in the game the other night. That's such a good thing. Oscar Attaway's a good kid, man. He came here, he got in the end zone a couple of times. I love seeing that. Shane's right. They're better Juju's on the field. Got to probably continue to try to get him the ball in space. They got a bunch of guys that need the football, but there's only one of them. So, not everybody can get it every play.
No, to your point, let's go to two things here. Number one, you mentioned play calling Dow Loggins. But in the first hour, Preston and I both said that was probably his best game calling plays. And by that is he didn't try and get fancy. He did what this team can do. He did what Robbie Ashford can do, and it opened up opportunities for other things. I didn't feel like he tried to make Robbie Ashford into something he wasn't. And Jamie, one other thing Preston and I said early on, the ground and pound mentality is starting to, I think, take hold a little bit. They might struggle in pass blocking, but I know it's Akron. I got it. But now LSU and Akron, back-to-back games of over 240 yards rushing. That's the start, at least, of building a mentality and building an identity of who your football team is.
Yeah, 100%. And you take away the sack yardage, and this team's really toted the rock pretty well through the first few games of the season. So, yeah, look, I like where they are, man. There's some things that they can continue to clean up. And how about this offensive line? People will look at the sacks and they'll credit all that to the offensive line. That is not all on the offensive line at all. I would attribute probably half of them to them, maybe a little bit more, but not 16. And I think that this group they've done a nice job. I just want to, one of the things that we were concerned about, I don't know if concern is the right word or not, but one of the things I was anxious to see was something y'all already mentioned earlier. What were they going to do with the offense with Ashford in there? Because last week it kind of seemed to shut itself down when he came in the game. And you felt like, well, had they maybe had some things prepared or for him to kind of continue running the actual offense, maybe they would have won the game. I'm not blaming that necessarily. I don't know what it would have looked like, but it looked like the other night that they were running what they want to be, that kind of the South Carolina identity on offense. So you just want to see whoever's back there, at least between those two guys, Sellers and Ashford, you want to see that South Carolina's offense. You don't want to see drastic changes because one guy or the other is in the ballgame.
I do wonder, we've heard Shane talk so much about wanting a pro-style offense. What you saw from Robbie, what you've seen from Lenoris a little bit is more of what I don't know why I want to label it this, but I do. I know it's taking hold in the NFL a little bit. But, Preston, I feel like it is more of the college offense where your quarterback's legs are every bit as important as your quarterback's arm.
Well, you could say it's a college offense because you saw a lot of use of the option.
Mm-hmm.
Like they ran a couple of different variations of the option with Robbie, getting him out on the perimeter, making him a threat to either pitch or keep the ball. That's not something you see in the pros. So I would say that was more of a college style offense, but it seemed to fit his skill set a little bit more. And I think him and Lenoris share similar skill sets.
Jamie, I think again to it, that's what we talk about there is Dow was, I don't know, I don't want to say more prepared. That makes it sound like he wasn't prepared at all for the LSU game, but it did feel like there was an understanding. Okay, this is what Robbie does. This is also what we are going to do really well in this game. I did again, we talked about it on Friday, Jamie, and I told Preston one of the things I wanted to see was them to challenge the offensive line in the run game. They did that, and also challenge the wide receivers out on the perimeter a little bit. And I do think they tried to do that by having the wide receivers block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're going to have to continue to do that, no doubt about that, and the tight ends too, right? These guys, they all need to continue to get some things cleaned up there. But, yeah, overall, I mean, I think you've got – I don't know if you'd have to ask Coach Beamer and Coach Loggins and the rest of that staff, hey, do you feel like you are where you need to be after 4 games offensively? I'm sure they would probably say no. We still got some things that we want to get cleaned up. But you go back to week 1. And then you fast forward to week 4 and into this bye week. And let's all take ourselves mentally back where we were in August, wondering, okay, what are we going to get? And then remember after game 1, and everybody's scratching their heads going, well, that can't be it, right? That just can't be it. And I do feel like every single week they have continued to make progress. Now, you'd like this progress to culminate itself into, the best version of you on October the 5th against Ole Miss, and maybe it will. But there's no doubt they continue to move things in the right direction. They'll try some things out that probably don't work. They throw them out. And then they go back and they perfect the things that they can be good at. It has been a gradual gradual increase in production. Guys are getting comfortable. That's what you want to see. And if you can hit your stride here in a couple of weeks with this defense, again, it's a football team that can probably start to really make some noise on the national level.
Jamie, we always appreciate it, man. I know you got some family stuff you got to get to this morning, but we always appreciate taking time out to join us on Monday mornings, and look forward to catching up with you next week when we'll get into that Mississippi game and start making fun of Juice Wells.
Yeah, man. Hey, Preston, I got to hit you up, man. I need you to come read some books to my kids in school.
Hit me up, man. You know where to get me.
Yeah, well, y'all get in the training room, get ice down, get those ankles feeling good, because next week we're back at it.
Yes, sir.
Back at it. Good to hear from you, Jamie Bradford.
Appreciate you, Jamie.
Jamie Bradford joining us as he does each and every Monday. We'll come back. We'll get into a few more numbers. Got some snap counts here. We'll do that, and we'll talk a little bit about those uniforms from Saturday night. It'll be a fashion show as well. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're ready to help you with a maintenance contract. And I can promise you this, I know this to be a fact. You probably are not thinking about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But that's what makes Mid-State Roofing stand out. That's why they've been the leader for nearly 30 years in the roofing and waterproofing industry. It's that proven history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility in a manner that's both safe and pleasing to you. Whether it's a high-rise or a hospital, manufacturing or industrial, Mid-State Roofing designs and installs a bonded system with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So give them a phone call. Again, they are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 803-356-1919. Again, that's 803-356-1919. Let them help protect that roof with a maintenance contract. Call Mid-State Roofing today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Are tax troubles weighing you down? Are you stressed out, not sleeping at night, all thinking about the IRS? If that's the case, don't let the IRS bother you. Call in the superhero, the guy who knows exactly what to do. John Ecton and his team, they've been dealing with the IRS maze for a long time, and they know exactly how to help get you out of that entanglement. You can live a worry-free life and not worry about the IRS, and it all starts by calling John Ecton today. 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. You can get a free consultation. So whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, or somewhere else in this great state, John Ecton and his team are ready to help you with proven local solutions, just like they've helped thousands of families and businesses just like you escape the IRS maze. So again, take the first steps towards a worry-free life. Call the Ecton Law Firm today. Get that free consultation and discover how the Ecton Law Firm can transform your tax worries into a thing of the past. 803-771-9800. Up and at 'em. If you're not already up and at 'em, then go ahead and get up and at 'em. 7:49 on your Monday morning. Want to remind you, September is Hunger Action Month, and the Game and Hardee's are teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. So get on over to a Hardee's. When you order your food, round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Again, the Game and Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup this month. A couple things here. Let's go over some snap counts real quick. And this is important because I want to hear your opinion of which one or two positions you think it's most important for guys to actually get game reps that could impact their development down the line. And I'll start with this one, what we've talked about, we've laughed about. You've got the old guys, the Demetriuses, the Bam Martin Scotts, the Debos. They're in there talking about their IRAs. They're talking about, daycare bills and things. And then you got Wendell and Fred, the young guys. Just trying.
The young guys with the old names.
South Carolina's going to lose. I mean, look, next year, the guys I just rattled off, Mo Kaba, Bam Martin Scott, Debo Williams, Demetrius Knight, Kamara, who for some reason I just skipped on his. Bengali, thank you. He didn't play on Friday night or Saturday night, by the way, was injured. But you did get three young guys. Wendell Gregory got 6 snaps. Jerron Willis got 6 snaps, and Fred Johnson got 15, Preston. And that's a position that when you get into games like this, in this Akron game, you're going to play Wofford later on in the year. I think it's imperative to get those freshmen snaps, especially at that linebacker position.
Yeah, they just need to see the game at game speed because no matter how hard you practice, it's not the same as a game because you don't have all those conditions that are happening at the same time. So, yeah, getting young guys in to get game reps is extremely important. And that's why these games like this, you take care of business so that you can further the development of your team by getting younger players snaps.
Would you linebacker be one of those positions because of so much going on there with the front end and the back end?
Well, yeah, you're working on getting the call in from the coach, signaling coverages, signaling stunts and fronts, taking on blockers. A lot of things are happening at linebacker. You need to have actual game reps to get better at that.
One of the, I don't want to say interesting developments, I don't know how to word it, the guy you're starting to see pick up snaps, Vakari Swain gets 20 snaps on Saturday night. Judge Collier got 23. Vakari Swain right now is boom or bust. He either looks great or boy does he not. Like he gets a little excited and gets out of position. But Vakari Swain is a guy that will be expected to step into a starter role, probably likely opposite of Judge Collier next year and fill in for O.D. Fortune. Fortune played 43 snaps on Saturday night. But again, you talk about a defensive back out there trying to learn things. Very interesting to see him. By the way, Jalewis Solomon, who a lot of people think could end up being the nickelback next year as well, gets 8 snaps on Saturday night.
Well, it looks like they're splitting the snaps almost evenly. It almost looked like they was on a chart because all the other DBs have the 43 snaps that they played, and then Judge and Vakari basically split 23 and 20. So it feels like there's still a little bit of a competition going out there for who's going to be the other guy, which is fine. You don't ever have to finalize it, and I do think the coaches are still going through the evaluation process.
On the other side of the ball, the offensive line, I thought this was really interesting. This is something that I, being the geek at times I tend to be, wanted to watch. Now, it looks like Josiah Thompson, they gave him every snap, all 77 at left tackle.
You playing.
Yeah.
Freshman, go get your reps.
They then followed that up, though, with redshirt freshman Marquis Anderson seeing his most significant action of his career. He got 21 snaps. Trovon Ball got 21 snaps as well. This did stand out to me a little bit, and I don't know what to make of it. I don't see Big Tree Babalade on that list of getting snaps anywhere in there. Cason Henry got 65. Jatavius Shivers, another tackle, got 16 in there at some point. But I don't see Tree Babalade in there. That's just something that I don't know if there's – I'm not sure. Very interesting. He didn't play.
That's worth noting. And because I'm a firm believer in you can tell me anything that you want to tell me about anybody, but all I need to do is look at the snap counts, and then I can figure out what's happening. And so when you see a guy with 0, that is something worth noting. And I would say that was something that would be worth asking a question about.
Blake Franks and Cam Pringle both got 6 snaps. Again, that red shirt rule really important here because you can allow those guys to get in there and get a few snaps here and there. And again, I think getting Jatavius Shivers 16 snaps is a really good step forward. Again, I like Marquis Anderson and Trovon Ball. Those two guys will be expected to step in next year on the interior spots and replace Kamar Bell and Torricelli Simpkins. Bell and Simpkins, Preston, you kind of mentioned it, both 56 snaps came out at the same time to kind of make room for Ball and Anderson late in the game.
Yeah, so they took out the guards, put the other two guards in, let them play the rest of the time. Torricelli being an older guy, Kamar being an older guy, I'm sure they welcomed that opportunity to go to the sideline and relax a little bit, as the older guys like to do at those moments. So that's good. That's good. You'll be able to get your freshmen in there and get them in at game speed, but with not such high stakes where they have to perform well.
So a lot of good stuff there. Certain positions where you definitely want to keep those guys developing, the younger guys developing, and it looks like in a lot of situations. I like what they did on the offensive line. It's a good point about Big Tree Babalade. Interesting you don't see his name on that list of guys who played snaps. We'll get into more. We'll get into some good, better, best, get your opinions on that, some thorns, buds, and roses, and at some point we're going to get into some fashion discussion, I promise. It's the early game.
Hey, it's Jen for CHW Cabinetry in Lexington. The kitchen demolition, all of that was so much fun. Well, maybe not so much. But what was kind of fun is when we had to work with CHW Cabinetry, or had the opportunity to work with them to pull our kitchen together. They showed us options that we might have, gave us photorealistic renderings that I was actually showing to my sister-in-law when she came and visited yesterday, and how neat it was that it looked just like a brand new finished kitchen before the kitchen was even finished, and we were able to get everything else pulled together for the finishing the project. But if you have wire hanging racks in your closet, maybe you want to get those changed out, want some functional drawers, your pantry is kind of a mess and want to see if you can get that more organized, they have options for that as well. If you have a home office space, you get the drill. There are so many things they can do to help improve the functionality of your home. CHWCabinetry.com. Visit that today or call them at 803-520-6837. And of course, be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. We're thrilled with them. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation. And taking a peek at those traffic conditions out there this morning, and things not moving too badly. Of course, coming into town up around Harbison, mile marker 102, that vicinity, things still very slow going in that respect, but kind kind of standard, but no true accidents to speak of. So that's okay. And hopefully it'll be a stress-free morning for the most part. Just lots of congestion there also on I-20 eastbound between Highway 378 and Highway 176, it appears. Things popping up quickly. Sorry about that. But we're looking at some nice conditions today, 93, 91 tomorrow. A few afternoon or evening storms possible, and that pattern will continue throughout the week. 71 right now.
$8 a.m. as we get you up and get you going here on your Monday morning, a new work week. And I apologize, I was not listening to Jen's traffic report, but a couple of y'all weighing in that I-20 westbound, there's a collision between Monticello Road and Fairfield Road, and the left and center lanes affected. Jen, did we report that, or we've got a couple people weighing in?
Just quickly, because it just had popped up, so okay. We'll do it. We'll update that here in the next break.
All right, so I-20 westbound at a standstill. Thank you to Chris and Steve for weighing in with that to help us a little bit this morning. 803-404-6100. We have covered a lot of stuff here so far this morning. 50-7. Look, Preston, again, South Carolina's 3-1. They're going to be 3-1 in September. I think it's easy to look back now when it was a 3-point game and there was a pick six that could have really changed it. It's easy now to go, I wouldn't have signed up for that. No, I want 4-0. And I get it. But I think most people on August 1st, if you'd have said, hey, 3-1 at the end of September, the trip to Kentucky, the visit from LSU, worst case 2-2, best case 4-0, but I'll settle for 3-1 looking down the rest of the pipe. And I think also the fact that you look at other teams, because this is how I view it. Oklahoma is a very winnable game. They benched Jackson Arnold, if you didn't catch this, over the weekend for another freshman quarterback. Oklahoma will be there to be had. They'll be coming off of the Texas game. South Carolina will be coming off of the Alabama game. But that's not, maybe Oklahoma's a 4 or 5 point favorite out there.
There's a deeper dive that needs to be done on how good are these actual transfer quarterbacks, and does it really work, and does it set your program back? Because I'm really starting to consider this with the benching of Jackson Arnold. You see what Peyton Thorne, I'm just starting to wonder what's this strategy like.
Yeah, and Oklahoma to an extent sold out to keep Jackson Arnold. Dylan Gabriel's up there at Oregon.
That's what I'm saying.
And so I say all this because as I look now down, if you made me put some kind of financial investment on it, I don't see them beating Ole Miss. I'm not saying they won't. And Alabama's going to be really tough. After that, I don't know what Missouri is. Missouri's the one team that I have no clue about. But Oklahoma, their offense, South Carolina's defense, Day weighs in and says Oklahoma's defense will eat our offense alive. Yeah, but have you seen Oklahoma's offensive line? They couldn't stop 42-year-old Preston at nose tackle. Jen and I as edges coming around the corner. That might be all field goals that game. That might be all field goals, but Oklahoma's offense is a mess right now. Texas A&M, we'll see what their quarterback situation is when they come here. They might have found something. They only won 26-20 over Bowling Green, but I like that game being in Columbia and South Carolina coming off of a bye, knowing maybe the importance of that game. Vanderbilt is not going to be the cakewalk that I necessarily thought, but South Carolina should still beat Vanderbilt. We'll see what they look like on November 9th. Missouri, and this is the texter weighs in. Vanderbilt showing out this year, or is Missouri not that good? I don't know what to make of Missouri right now. I do still think they're pretty good. I think that they're just having a very slow start to the season. But Preston, as we exit September, 8-4 seems very realistic with a chance to go to a nice, solid bowl game and maybe get win 9. I think that's kind of where I set the expectation at now coming out of September.
Well, yeah, and what's interesting about the season to this point is that I think the Akron game is the only game that has gone maybe according to the schedule. You know, like nobody would have predicted Old Dominion, the way that one turned out. Then we went to Kentucky. That was unexpected. LSU was a wild game. So this was actually only one game that went according to schedule. And I say that to say, who knows what the rest of the year has in front of us. Obviously, Ole Miss has put up a lot of points, but have they played anybody? I don't know. So you're in a better spot than I think a lot of people might have predicted, especially maybe some doomsdayers at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it would take a lot of research because a lot of people text in and go back. But to see how many people are like, I don't know how we win 3 games after the Old Dominion game. Like, there was a lot. We had a lot of text on Monday and Tuesday that.
And my point after the Old Dominion game was that was disappointing. It was a terrible performance, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what the rest of the season will bode for us.
And look, Mississippi. We will find out today, probably around lunch. I was looking at the schedule. We'll find out the game time for Mississippi. The other games that day, just FYI, if you're doing it, it'll definitely, who knows, ESPN could pick it up for a night game. Auburn is at Georgia. Does anybody really want to showcase that thing that is Auburn football right now? It's not a great. Clemson, Florida State no longer. Hey, way to go, Florida State, by the way. Way to win one. Way to get one out of the.
Got him one.
I think as I saw David Hale for ESPN write in his weekend recap, the Cal Florida State game will be used to get criminal confessions out of people now by making.
I didn't even see this come across, which is Cal did a lot of big talking on the internet.
Oh yeah.
To only
Tallahassee
to lose. Yeah, they did a lot of big talk.
But it's not a great October 5th. It's not a great weekend. Not that we expect South Carolina to get into the polls, but as you sit here right now, before the poll will be released later, or before the poll will be released next Monday, next weekend actually does not have any ranked versus ranked matchups. Game day is not coming back here. I'll be clear about that. I just don't see that occurring. There are some other decent games it can go to, but that weekend, there's no reason South Carolina and Mississippi can't get either the night ESPN kick or the night ABC kick. I just glanced real quick, ABC nor ESPN has put that in there. We know that South Carolina, Mississippi will be at least a 3:30 kick, if not later. It's in that flex spot.
Flex window, right? The
flex window that they could put it on a couple different channels. So, and, say one thing. Again, I mentioned that. Just to give you a rundown real quick. Auburn, Georgia. Iowa, Ohio State. Alabama at Vanderbilt. Tennessee at Arkansas. Good win for Arkansas, by the way. I know we're putting Auburn down, but good for Sam Pittman to go in there and get that win. Miami at California. UCLA at Penn State. Michigan at Washington. Southern Cal at Minnesota. SMU at Louisville, Clemson at Florida State, Baylor at Iowa State, West Virginia at Oklahoma State, and Utah State at Boise State. Preston, that's your top 25 lineup. Auburn, Georgia is 2 brand name teams. Iowa, Ohio State are probably the best game that day. Maybe, I don't know. So, but my point is, not sure that there's a game that stands out that night for ESPN or ABC in particular to pass over and not put South Carolina, Mississippi in that primetime slot. And let me say this, if you get that game at night and it's crazy and fireworks and tailgating all day, it's worth a couple points there for South Carolina in that environment.
It'll be fun. But the reason why it's fun is because they've done their job to this point. Is because they've won the games. They've made it into a big game. We knew what Ole Miss was going to be ranked, and they haven't really played anybody, but they've taken care of business. So both teams have taken care of business, and South Carolina maybe has surprised some people around the country.
Speaking of around the country, Corbin weighs in this morning and says not to downplay Ole Miss, Alabama, and the rest of the SEC schedule we have, but thank the Lord we don't play JMU.
Yeah. I don't want to do that.
That was one of the odd storylines of the weekend. I don't know if I can discuss what I was seeing as I would see that score. Like wait a minute, is North Carolina playing a preseason basketball game? And, boy, they're not going to be good this year.
Yeah, I mean, that's not even a great basketball score, right? That's still pretty dominant.
Yeah, you lost by 20.
Yeah, you gave up 70 points. We weren't playing very good. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that one turns out. I don't know if they snuck up on them because I didn't watch the game. I just saw the highlights, and so I would wonder if did they sneak up on them? Was JMU running some exotic type of offense? What happened that North Carolina got caught with their pants down, basically, to this situation where they weren't even prepared for this team?
Well, let's let you listen. Mac Brown's in there. He's explaining the loss to James Madison, 70-50 on Saturday. Here's Mac Brown after the JMU loss.
Embarrassing day, shocking day. You shouldn't be at North Carolina and lose to a Group of 5 team, period. There are no excuses. Our defense, who played great all spring, all preseason, and played outstanding for the first 3 games, looked awful today. We had communication problems. We had missed tackles. We had guys wide open for a touchdown. Our special teams, who had been better than the 3 teams we had played the first 3 games, had an onside kick that hit us in the chest and they get for a score. Had a block punt that they get for a score. Jacoby, I thought, played really, really well. He even had an interception for a touchdown right before the half, and Connor came in for one play and fumbled the ball, and that ended up being a touchdown. So it can only come back to one person, and that's me.
If you haven't followed the story, and Preston, you brought it up a little bit last week just about coaches and handling big games, and this wasn't a big game, but I've paid a little bit more attention over the last 48 hours because as we were sitting there getting ready for the South Carolina game, my son kind of leaned over and was like, Mac Brown resigned. And I was like, wait, you lose by 20 to JMU and you just throw your hands up? Was he at the Steve Spurrier School of taking losses hard? So I started reading, and then later it came out, no, he didn't resign. He just told the players in the locker room that if he couldn't fix it, it was time for him to step down. Now, there's differing opinions on what exactly was said in that locker room. They actually did not let the players talk to the media after the game. But one thing that has come out on pretty much every North Carolina site that I've seen is that, well, Mac Brown takes losses extremely hard after the games. That's cool, but don't you have to have some kind of, awareness of the situation?
Of the situation as in this particular situation, as in because there's a lot of different situations. I mean, you could have his tenure situation, North Carolina's situation. I mean, what are you saying?
Well,
or is he just talking too much?
I'll give you so this is the article on Inside Carolina. Mac Brown locker room address puts Carolina football program in flux. There's actually, in a couple articles I've seen, 2, I'd have to go back and pull them, have directly compared this to Steve Spurrier putting out the article at the end of, I think, 14 maybe, where he's like, yeah, I might have 2 or 3 years left.
Well, this is it. This is Mac Brown's last year. Because once you open that door, you can't go back. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Once your mind goes to, maybe I should resign, you've already had that thought process. And every singular hard thing that happens after that, you're going to be thinking, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. Or not even I don't know if I want to, but I don't know if I can do this. Or maybe I'm not connecting. You know, we heard Steve Spurrier on the podcast with Patrick talked about how he just lost connection with that particular team, and he looked around and said, you know what, this is not for me anymore. Mac Brown is probably having some of those same thoughts, so he's going to try, but this is the last year.
According to Inside Carolina, the article starts with an emotional Mac Brown told North Carolina football team that he was walking away from the job after the Tar Heels' embarrassing 70-50 loss to James Madison. Hours later, sources close to the situation emphasized the 73-year-old college football Hall of Famer, who has long taken losses hard in their immediate aftermath, isn't resigning or quitting his coaching position, explaining that Brown told the Tar Heels he would step down from his coaching post if that would be best for the team. But it's an interesting situation, and you know where my first thought went? I wonder what their commitment list looks like. Who they got on that bad boy?
There you go. That's where how you start thinking. By the way, the week before, I'm not sure if folks are really familiar with the powers that the James Madison is. The previous week against Gardner-Webb, 13-6. They beat the So, offensive explosion, to say the least.
By the way, the North Carolina commitment list, it's okay.
Right. Yeah, but I seriously though, once your mind goes to that point, you've already made that decision. And being at his age and stage of his career, which I'm a Mac Brown fan, this is it.
803-404-6100. We'll get into some thorns, buds, and roses. What's popping up in the world of Preston Thorne? We'll let you hear that when we come back. It is the early game. Bill Gunner for Jacob Crowder and First Palmetto Bank. Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru. I used him just a couple years ago. He helped find me a great interest rate, a great plan, and it has been absolutely exceptional ever since. And right now, First Palmetto Bank has an incredible loan taking place. It is called the Community Reinvestment Product. For more information, call Jacob Crowder today, 803-719-1005. The Community Reinvestment Product. It is for Richland County. If you're looking to move into Richland County, Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, or the I-20 corridor, what you can get right now is a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. These loans are for primary homes only, and the loan amount is capped at $300,000. Again, call for more information today, 803-719-1005. Speak with the mortgage guru himself. Ask about the Community Reinvestment Product. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.
I-20 westbound, Fairfield Road, the 2 left lanes are currently blocked, so impacting traffic kind of between like Fairfield and Monticello Road. The 2 left lanes are blocked. And as far as forecast goes, going to see some rain throughout the week. Chances for afternoon and evening storms pretty much every day. And there's a possibility it could be heavy rain come Friday. 93 today, 91 tomorrow. But a little bit mild this morning, sitting at 70 on the early game.
Rolling along on your Monday morning. We'll get to some thorns, buds, and roses here in just a minute, but want to remind you, Carolina Calls will be Wednesday night this week, 6 o'clock Wednesday night this week. You can hear right here on 107.5 The Game in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach. This week is a bye week. What does that mean, you ask? Well, it means Lamont Paris and Derek Scott take center stage for Carolina Calls out at Backstreet's Bar. I actually went by there myself on Friday and hung around and enjoyed a chicken ranch wrap, Preston. Not bad at all, but you can go out and hear from Lamont Paris. According to Michael DeBates, his SID, today is opening day, I guess is how I would phrase it, opening practice day, first day of practice for the South Carolina basketball team. So exciting times as we get ready for their schedule.
What does opening basketball day look like?
You mean the first
practice? Like, what is the first practice of basketball? You kind of just run through your layup lines. You do the 3-man weave. I don't know what that looks like.
Nowadays, it's because of what you're allowed to do during the summer. Mm-hmm. It's really putting it together. Mm-hmm. Like it's you got this over here, that over there. Now you start really putting it all together. Opening night is November 4th, so you got time. I was actually surprised that today was the first day of practice, the first official day.
About a month
of practice. Yeah, a little more than a month. South Carolina will open November 4th against North Florida here at Colonial Life Arena.
And will there be any secret scrimmages?
Yes. Well, I don't. Thankfully, we're becoming better and better at not making them secret. But I, quite frankly, do not know. I do not know who they have a scrimmage against. Maybe we can pull that information out of somebody over there. We are efforting to get Coach Paris on this week to join us and to talk about his program. But you can hear from him Wednesday night as well. He will be out at Backstreet's Bar and Grill. That'll be the Carolina Calls this week, and Derek Scott will be handling the call there. So make sure you tune in if you're looking to listen to Carolina Calls 6 o'clock this week. Wednesday, again, right here, 107.5 The Game in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach, 100.3 The Game. 803-404-6100. It was, as you said, it was that weekend. You don't know what's coming down the pipe. On paper, it didn't set up as a monster college football weekend, but we still got some fun, got some things that you loved, some things that grew on you, and some thorns. Let's listen to a little bit of Thorns, Buds, and Roses.
It's time for Thorns, Buds, and Roses with Preston Thorne on the early game, 107.5 The Game.
Bill, we're going to start this off by saying, get off my lawn.
Oh, boy.
Get off my lawn. Kids these days, they don't know how to wear uniforms, Bill. The way that we wear our uniforms, it irks me.
This is, I think, the second time you've hit on this. So
it irks me.
This might be a yearly Preston rant.
And maybe it's just the Akron game where there's low stakes and I'm not paying attention to anything else. And I see them wear their uniforms. There's T-shirts hanging out the bottom of the jerseys, leg sleeves, all kinds of just random stuff, man. We don't look like a team. We don't look like the old school good guys who tuck your shirts in, pull your socks up, pull your pants up, tighten your belt. What's wrong with the kids these days, man? A uniform is a uniform because it's supposed to make you look the same.
It's supposed to make you look uniform.
Exactly. All these kids look different. They're wearing all types of stuff, Bill, and I can't take it anymore. So get off my lawn, turn the music down, and tuck your shirts in. That's what I want to say for my thorns.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Buds. Caitlin Clark voted unanimous MVP. Budding star. You know, it's one of my things that I've sort of obsessive with is when somebody is supposed to be great and they actually end up being great. And that is something that I find astonishing, that somebody can have such high expectations and either meet and or exceed them. And Caitlin did by every stretch of the imagination.
And what did she get?
Unanimous rookie of the year. Unanimous rookie of the year. I'm getting to that in a second. Unanimous rookie of the year for Caitlin Clark. 1,000 points in the season. She led rookies in assists and 3-pointers. And not only that, 36 of the 40 games that Indiana played in were on TV, and they averaged over 1 million viewers.
Wow.
So the Caitlin Clark effect is real. And not only was it an effect, but she actually went out there and balled out.
Okay.
So we have a budding superstar, a budding legend, maybe budding possible GOAT. But before then, we have the GOAT. We own the GOAT. MV3. A'ja Wilson voted unanimous MVP of the WNBA. I've said it before. I say it again. The most dominant basketball player is from Columbia, South Carolina, and that is amazing. She has been phenomenal this year. Set so many records. But what has she done this year? She won a gold medal. She won the MVP. She's up for possible Defensive Player of the Year, which is not out of the imagination. She led the league in points. She led the league in rebounds. She increased her blocks and steals per game. One of the most dominant performances, and she is just entering her prime. We got about 3 or 4 more years of dominance from A'ja. And everybody's still playing around with this idea. I don't know if you saw on the Twitter machine, on the X machine, the Miami Heat have gotten in on this.
Oh, Lord.
They said it was a nice day to have a good Sunday. And they did some weird thing where they superimposed Bam's image on top of A'ja shooting 3-pointers. And Bam just was like, all right, come on, this is enough. But Bam, I want to tell you something. You outkicked your coverage, son.
Yeah.
And you better do all you can to get this right, because you are the inferior basketball player in this relationship, if it is a thing. She is the GOAT. Bam has not won a championship yet. He's not won an MVP yet.
He's just a kid.
Settle down on my Heat a little bit, all right?
Let's
not take too many shots, too many unnecessary strays on the Heat here.
Besides all of that, A'ja Wilson's the best player right now and very possibly the greatest women's basketball player of all time. And she has about 3 or 4 more years of prime years to really cement that legacy. So, Bill, those are my thorns, buds, and roses for the weekend.
The Seattle coach yesterday, Wilson, gets the trophy yesterday, promptly stinks it up in the first half. 4 points, 1 of 8 shooting. And then, as the headline has said, the MVP MVP'd. As the Seattle coach said, she's the MVP for a reason. She finished with 21 points in the game yesterday. The Aces started the playoffs there against Seattle, and she finished with 21 points, 8 rebounds, 5 blocks, and a very strong finish, including 15 points, Preston, in the third quarter to get the Aces going. The MVP'd yesterday.
Yeah, and the WNBA playoffs just started on Sunday, which is really interesting to see, because Las Vegas didn't have a great year. They've been just sort of hanging around. A'ja's been basically sort of pulling them along with her. So I'm interested to see how that turns out in the playoffs. But possible repeat opportunity for the Aces.
Yeah, yesterday you mentioned Caitlin Clark. Also, the Suns they knocked off the Fever 93-69.
Yeah,
so it could be a very short trip.
It's an unfortunate draw for the Fever, because I don't think they're going to be able to overcome the Sun.
Yeah, the Connecticut Suns there, knocking them out, or not knocking them down. Game was the best of 3 series in that. But some good stuff there. 803-404-6100.
So what you're telling me is that once a year the uniforms get on my nerves?
We'll come back to
this is the thing.
We'll get into that.
All right.
And we'll add that in with an at least we ain't.
Yeah.
We'll add that in with some at least we ain't. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen. Preston Thorne, old man, shaking his fist at young kids wearing their uniforms. Young kids, wear your uniforms correctly. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air, where they have a question for you. Do you have the oldest AC unit in the Midlands? That's right. AAA Heating and Air is on the hunt to find the oldest air conditioning unit in their Midlands service area. And if you think that could be yours, you know what? It could pay off. AAA Heating and Air is hosting the My Oldest AC contest, and you have a chance to win a new HVAC system for your home. Just head over to the website, myoldAir.com, and complete the online entry form. AAA Heating and Air will draw a winner at random for every 100 entries. It's actually that simple. Just go over to myoldAir.com, fill out the entry form, and every 100 entries, AAA Heating and Air will pull a winner at random. You could win a brand new heating and air unit. If you think you've got the oldest AC unit in the Midlands, go to myoldAir.com, fill out the entry form, win yourself a new heating and air unit. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
I-20 westbound at Fairfield Road, you're going to want to stay to the right because the two left lanes are blocked, so causing quite of a slowdown there there at Fairfield Road and backed up at least to Monticello. So be careful approaching that area. And as far as your forecast is concerned, we're looking for some chances for afternoon and evening thunderstorms, really, for most of this week. 93 will be our high today, 91 tomorrow. Then we get to about 89 on Wednesday. Low 80s for the remainder of the week and into the weekend. But again, that pattern of rain is going to be with us for a little bit. Right now, though, it's a little bit hazy. 70 on the early game.
Finley, quick throw down the field into coverage. Picked off DQ Smith. DQ Smith is first on the year.
That was DQ Smith with a very nice defensive play on Saturday night as the Gamecocks hold Akron to less than 200 yards and just 7 points. And really, I don't know. Depends. I feel like if you're a glass half full or glass half empty kind of person, you can be like, that was bad coverage there on that touchdown pass. Or you'd be like, man, what a throw. Just over the outstretched arms of the defensive back that, I don't want to say it was a lucky play. We'll give them credit, but it was a good play by Akron. Their only good play of the game.
Yeah, the singular play, singular one. It just felt like he misjudged it. The timing was just like he went to jump and realized the ball was a little higher than he thought it was, and it just kind of just barely, whatever. Good for Akron. Great game. DQ Smith getting going a little bit. I believe he got the defensive player of the game from, I think I heard Shane Beamer say that. So that's always a good thing to build up his confidence because has been struggling over the past couple of games. So that's what you want to see in these types of ball games.
I want you to think real quick. What are you doing? What are your plans on December 27th? Think about it for a second. I want to remind you, September is Hunger Action Month. The Game and Hardee's are teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Just go to your participating Hardee's and round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. Again, it's the Game and Hardee's teaming up for the Hardee's Roundup. Make sure you go to your participating Hardee's, round up your bill to the nearest dollar amount. All donations go to the Harvest Hope Food Bank for students. You want to be really happy?
What's up?
I mean, really happy.
I mean, I probably should know calendars better than I do.
You've been advocating for this for a while.
What we got?
Bowl projections are out.
Ooh, are you about to make me really happy?
It's unanimous on ESPN. The SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, 10:30, Friday night, December the 27th. Preston Thorne, Kyle Bonaguru, South Carolina versus California. Mark Schlabach, South Carolina versus Washington State. You're on the verge at the end of September of getting your wish, South Carolina at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas.
I'm in now. I didn't. That wasn't even in the realm of possibility. I hadn't even considered that. Okay, what needs to happen?
I'd probably say, let's see what else we got here. Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl, Kentucky in the Birmingham Bowl, Auburn in the Birmingham Bowl, according to those. So I'm 7-5, 8-4 seems probably about right as I just scroll through some of these other projections here. Is there any other? What am I looking for here? For Music City has LSU and Kentucky from both of their picks. The Reliquist Bowl, Auburn and Missouri. I have heard rumors that South Carolina would prefer to, if it came to Reliquist and Tampa or Las Vegas. We've seen Tampa. We're familiar with that. We know that stadium. We know those people. They're very nice people. But I think South Carolina would prefer to go elsewhere than there. Texas Bowl, both of them have Oklahoma in there. Gator Bowl, both have Texas A&M in there. So I think 7-5. 7-5 would possibly be a Las Vegas Bowl invite. Because this is not the year. The ACC is going to the Dukes Mayo Bowl, so that's the swap out ACC and the Duke's Mayo Bowl. So, yeah, there you go.
This is just called manifesting your dreams. If you speak it enough, it could happen.
Well, that's where we stand. That is the ESPN Bowl projections, at least as of this morning. By the way, Clemson versus Southern Cal in the Holiday Bowl. And I didn't see Clemson in another bowl projection, but I know that Schlabach's got to have them somewhere in the projections. I didn't look at the playoffs for them. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so this morning. So the uniforms real quick over the weekend. The snazzy?
Yeah,
fairly sharp.
Big topics of discussion. We've kind of been trying to figure out, one of my big maybe pet peeves is that we don't have a set things of uniforms. We try to go with different colors and combinations, and it's always this big thing, and everybody has one of their personal favorites. But it seemed like, and I don't know whether it was the nostalgia or the design or what it was, but it seemed like this was one of the very few universal hits as far as the uniforms were concerned. I did really, really like these uniforms. I believe it was a homage back to the 1980 team, I believe. And it was a cool deal. It looked good on the field. It looked like a nice product.
Texter weighed in, said, have you guys spoken about the uniforms? I know you teased it at one point. I thought they were the best luck we've had in years. Frank weighs in and says, I wasn't all that thrilled with the uniforms, but please keep the 1980 helmets. I like the enlarged Block C in Gamecock. You'd actually see it from a distance. It looked so classy.
Good point. I didn't think about that as a design, because sometimes with the little smaller C, it looks a little muddy. Mm-hmm. You can't figure out what's going on. So the larger C did look distinctive, because all uniforms are branding. And so if these things are just passing by, people should be able to recognize, oh, those are the Gamecocks. We're fortunate that we have really awesome colors. We can have different color combinations, and we can do some really nice things. I think it's just a matter of figuring out what exactly it is we're going to do. And those large Block C's did look good. Brian
weighs in and says, I agree with Preston. I hate seeing T-shirts hanging out, one sock on, one off. It was a disgrace to those sharp throwback uniforms. But at least we ain't North Carolina. And that leads us to at least we ain't.
Now, when we say at least we ain't North Carolina, we mean the state, right?
Oh, dear daddy. That was a...
Who would you have preferred to... Obviously, is it obvious that North Carolina was worse, or does NC State have to take a little bit of this too?
Well, App State's not your daddy's App State anymore.
Oh, man.
Oh, you forgot about them?
Yeah, I didn't consider them either. Wow.
Yeah. App State went down 48-14. North Carolina State decided they weren't even going to play the game, basically. That game was over quick. I mean, quick. And then I really have no clue what happened in Chapel Hill for North Carolina, because I couldn't believe that was nowhere on my radar of games to even look at on Saturday. Oh, by the way, just if you want to just throw another one in, App State 48-14, North Carolina State getting bludgeoned by Clemson 59-35, North Carolina 70-50. Just for good measure, Charlotte didn't want to be left out. They took it on the chin from Indiana 52-14.
I don't think the big Pofy era is going very well.
Did you see what he was wearing?
I think that's I did.
If you haven't looked at I don't know how to describe it. Like, this isn't going to work. Yeah. And I don't like, yeah, no, it's not happening up there.
Yeah, I don't think this is.
East Carolina lost as well to Liberty 35-24.
Sorry, North Carolina. At least we ain't North Carolina.
The state. The entire state. I'm glancing to see. I think Duke had a bye week. Duke gets North Carolina this week. And Wake Forest, there's no reason to pay. If those other ones didn't win, the other two certainly don't matter. But, yeah, there was your at least we ain't the state of North Carolina.
You know what? At least we ain't on any of these other schools who paid schools to come down. Akron, I would like to thank you all for knowing your job, understanding your assignment. You come to Columbia, we pay you $1.5 million, and we get to beat the tar out of you. That's how this is supposed to work. You're not supposed to come down and try and win a game or try and make it into a contest. Thank you, Akron, for knowing your role and shutting your mouth.
There you go. Yeah, again, you got the usual suspects, and at least we ain't. Auburn making a very solid push to stay fully entrenched in the at least we ain'ts. It's just bad. Memphis coming off of that win over Florida State, talking about being a potential playoff team. They decided to remove themselves. Navy wins 56-44 in that game.
I glanced over some statistics, and I believe Navy is throwing the ball now.
Giving it an effort. They're giving it an effort.
They're throwing the ball now. There's a Things are happening.
Yeah, there was that. You also had TCU, who made fun of SMU over the weekend because they were going to have to play on the CW channel. And TCU promptly got blown out 66-42, and Sonny Dykes got thrown out of the game.
I want to say that there was a school administrator from TCU that wore SMU sucks.
Yeah. No, I'll give you that story when we come back.
Please
We got to hit the break. No, that wasn't a school administrator. Might have been a local official.
Oh, no.
803-404-6100 is the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing. Whether you're here in Columbia, whether you're in Florence and Myrtle Beach, maybe you're in Charleston or Greenville this morning, I know you're not necessarily thinking about your roof, but who is Mid-State Roofing is? Because if you've got a leak, Mid-State Roofing, well, they'll take a peek. They'll get you solved. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They are there to help you with a maintenance contract. Just give them a phone call. You'll speak with an on-call technician after hours. You'll speak with a Mid-State Roofing employee during hours. 803-356-1919. For more information, you can visit them on the web, midstateroofing.com. Again, you don't have to necessarily be right here in the Midlands to call Mid-State Roofing. You can be somewhere else this morning, Florence, Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Greenville, and Mid-State Roofing is ready to install a bonded system with a protective guarantee that'll keep your operation dry and running long into the future. So again, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're ready to take your phone call, 803-356-1919. Call them today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. wrapping it up, 8:50 here on your Monday morning. We will work our way through the week. J.C. Sherbert tomorrow, and we'll have plenty more throughout the week as well. Again, reminder, Carolina Calls this week will be Wednesday night over at Backstreet's Bar and Grill. This week it'll feature Lamont Paris, so we can hear a little bit from him as he starts talking about his basketball season, something that as we get into October, we'll start to look more to that November 4th Monday when they'll open against North Florida. So reminder, tune in Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, Lamont Paris. He'll be joined by Derek Scott to talk Gamecock basketball with the bye week. Shane Beamer will be on the road recruiting. From what I understood from Todd Ellis last week, Todd going on vacation because he needs one. After 50 points, that's a lot of yelling and getting fired up.
Well, that's what we heard in the last play. You didn't hear a boom. We didn't hear hold me, child. Didn't hear anything like that.
Yeah, announce that. I'll tell you what, Jen, let's play number 8 here real quick, the Jarwan Howell touchdown. This is the final one of the night. Rate Todd's enthusiasm level after calling the final touchdown of the night.
Back to work. They're going to run it right side. Wide open at the 15, 10, 5. That's Howell into the end zone. The Bulldog from down the road in Orangeburg made his debut in the Garnet and Black tonight. He goes 23 yards. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Jarwan Hall.
Close enough.
Solid effort.
Solid. Yeah, he was still feeling it late in the evening. Todd was still playing out. He knew what he was doing. Good job, Mr. Ellis there. That was the final touchdown of the night. Now, during the break, I showed Preston a few different things. One was the Dallas City Council member who had a TCU Sucks shirt on. He was an SMU fan. He feels good about himself here on Monday morning.
Solid.
Another was the quarterbacks there for Utah and Oklahoma State combined 49 years of age for them to play. Cam Rising did not play. Utah did win that game on Saturday. But, again, you had that. And then we also had a picture I sent to you of Biff Poggi, Charlotte head football coach. And if you haven't seen it, you can go to the Twitter account, No Context. Let's see, it's a No Context College Football, at No Context CFB. Preston, how do you feel about this picture?
Yeah, I had to make an amendment. Remember, I was talking about the athletes wearing their uniforms. Well, I'm going to make an amendment. Coaches, don't go out dressed like this. You're the adult. Wear the polo or whatever it is, especially if you're not winning. Bill Belichick, fine. You win a lot of games. You can do this. But you, Biff, you're not allowed to do this. Your record does not give you the privilege to do this. Put a polo on, sir.
I'm just going to go ahead and use some message board mayhem on a Monday. If you haven't seen it, go see the picture, and then the responses are great. Guy weighs in on X and says, hat over headphones. This man is a trailblazer. Somebody else says, dignity equals 0. Another person weighed in, head coach Meatloaf. Yeah, I can't say some of them on air. You gotta go and read it for yourself. But 803-404-6100. Another one, honoring Dusty Rhodes with the fit today. There's a lot of good stuff there from the weekend. Final thoughts there. We'll continue to obviously talk about Akron tomorrow and kind of put a bow on that game. Gamecocks moved to 3-1. But Preston, bottom line, across the board, everybody did what they were supposed to. I like Dow Loggins' offense. Defense shut down Akron with little to no problem. Robbie Ashford did his job. South Carolina wrapped up the game pretty much by the end of the first quarter and maybe a little bit into the second quarter. Everything that you wanted from South Carolina on Saturday came to fruition, I thought. The only downside, Rocket Sanders' injury, and you hope he's back for Mississippi.
Yeah, I would just say don't take for granted when teams go out and do what they're supposed to do, right? I know it's easy to say, oh, it was Akron. They should. We've seen this not happen. We only have to go back to 2 weeks ago when we were trying to figure out if the world was going to collapse because we were down in the fourth quarter to Old Dominion team who's not very good. So for them to go out there and handle business against Akron, the kudos to them, kudos to everybody involved. Great lead up to the bye week and getting ready for the next big game.
Yeah, you got and JC will repeat this tomorrow because he and I have had this conversation about, especially with the bye week, when you win that much and a lot of people get involved, your spirits are up a little bit more going in. Maybe you practice a little bit harder or whatever. But we'll continue down that path. We've had a good morning, man. That was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. A lot more fun that had be had this week. No game this week, so that means a lot of shenanigans.
We will definitely get into shenanigans. And being at 3-1, we can make fun of a lot of people. We can make fun of a lot of people, and we will. Y'all have a great day. I might have something to do a deep dive on tomorrow to either.
Preston here, let me tell you about our good friends at QC Kinetics. Are you having hip pain, shoulder pain, back pain, knee pain, pain from arthritis, whatever it is, you can call the good folks at QC Kinetics to get you set up. They use an all-natural way to use highly concentrated properties from your own body to give you lasting relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in precision regenerative medicine with over 100 clinics across America and thousands of satisfied patients. So if you got joint pain due to arthritis, just don't think that the old ways of dealing with pain are the only ways. You need to learn more about these new regenerative options that can change your life. So call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation at 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860. Again, call QC Kinetics for a free consultation at 803-281-6860.